Hey guys, what's going on? We got another Enhancement Shaman PvE guide, but this time it's going to be about the Storm build. If you played Enhancement last season, you would have known about it already, but this season it's fallen a bit behind, but it's still very competitive, very simple to follow, so if you are struggling with Elementalist, I would recommend this build highly. So, to get started, I do use this build very often in Raid, especially when we're doing new fights on Mythic. Just learning the mechanics, it helps a lot because the damage output or the damage rotation is very simple, and there's not much thought process to it either. So, but first we're going to go over stat priority, then we will go over gearing, and then we will go over rotation and talents. So let's get started. So first off, your stat priority is going to be haste, then mastery, then verse, then crit. So haste, you want to go to about 30%, give or take 3%. You want to be around there. Mastery, you want to be around 80-ish, give or take 3%. You want to try and aim for around there. Since we're later into the season, we are hitting our soft caps, so that's why you want to keep them around those percentages. Going over those will reduce your overall damage because you're getting less percent per stat you put in. And then we want to go verse then crit. Technically, it should be crit then verse because crit does apply more damage. But I find the damage reduction from versatility is more valuable than the overall damage. Plus, it just buffs you in general. There's nothing else to it. Versatility, there's no RNG. It's just a straight damage buff as well as a straight damage reduction buff. So again, haste 30%, give or take 3%, and then mastery 80%, give or take 3%. You want to aim for around there. So if you're at the lower item levels, you will notice that it'll be harder to get crit or verse. You'll be forcing more mastery and haste just to get to that level. But once you reach the higher levels like I am at 486, probably go even higher once I get a couple more pieces, you will be reaching your soft caps pretty fast. So as for gear, we'll start with embellishments. We want a Shadow Flame and adaptive arm guards. The reason why is I find Shadow Flame is very good. Every time I sim myself to check which pieces of gear I need or which stats I need to change out, it always sims higher than Lariat. I know some people suggest getting Lariat, but I just find all my sims tell me Shadow Flame is better. As for adaptive arm guards, with recent nerfs to other effects such as the slime boots and stuff like that, arm guards are just top tier. They give you your correct stats, and they also give you procs on your correct stats as well as the other two stats which you kind of want. Enhancement doesn't really have a bad stat, to be honest. But yeah, so for those, as for trinkets, you want to aim for your Catalysmic brand and your friendship badge. And Mythic Plus, you would switch out your brand for the porcelain crab or even sandglass. If you don't have access to raid or you just don't like raiding, you prefer just sticking with the Mythic Plus, go with accelerating sandglass and the porcelain crab. Those would be your best options. I don't like the branch from Everbloom because of the on use. I would not recommend it. It is a pain in the butt. If you're looking to maximize DPS and learn how to play with it, go for it. It is great. But I personally do not like it. I hated playing with it, and I refuse to play with it now. But yeah, ideally single target Catalysmic Brand Friendship Badge. AoE is Porcelain Crab, and then if you're straight Mythic Plus, just grab the Sandglass. But we will get into our talents here in a second. Weapon. Thorn Collar is a very good one for pure single target. I use it quite often. It is really good. It does have lower stats, so in the AoE it does fall a bit farther down the line, but in single target it is an increase over a 489. So only minor though. Whoops, that's the wrong one. But yeah, as for gems, mastery haste, you know, primary mastery, that's what you want to go for, so that way you can start switching out other pieces. As you can see, my necklace is crit first because I've hit my soft caps already without it, so this works out better. And then you also, since you have the friendship badge, which gives you a buff, you will be getting stats on all three of these. You do not, I do not believe you get a haste buff. I think it's everything but haste. So yeah, on to talents, let's get into that. So there are 3 talent builds I use, one for single target, one for fortified week, and one for tyrannical week. All similar, but slightly different. So to start off with, the usual, we go Wind Fury into Forceful Winds into Unruly Winds, and then we have Wind Fury Totem and all the other stuff. We have Lava Lash with Molten Assault due to our tier set, because we revolve around Primordial Wave right now. It's best to have this option. Just in case of minor cleave and single target, you can spread it out, and also just keep Flame Shock active at all times. It's pretty useful. And then we take Doom Wind, Storm's Wrath, Tempest Strikes, which is a new ability that came out. I think it was this patch 10.2, which is super fun to play with because you don't do anything. You don't have to worry about it, which is great. Sundering we still take, and then we want Storm Flurry. This will help with Ascendance procs later on. But then we grab our Elemental Weapon and Storm Blast, as well as Primordial Wave, Feral Spirits, 2 charges of Witch Doctors, because we want Primordial Wave off cooldown as much as possible, and these two sync up pretty nicely. We have Elemental Assault to guarantee our Maelstrom, as well as Legacy of the Frost Switch to do our resets on or to force resets on Stormstrike. And then we have our Ascendance into Thorm's Invocation. This is basically the base layout. It doesn't change much from Mythic Plus, as you will see. We just drop Ice Strike and Wind Fury Totem to get Crash Lightning and Crashing Storms, as well as we drop Storm Blast to get Molten Assault to 2 stacks. The reason why is we want to spread our Flame Shock, right? Primordial Wave, get that big Lightning Bolt off, and then we want to use Crash Lightning and Crashing Storms just to do our massive AoE damage. In a fortified week, so this is for Tyrannical, in a fortified week, I would drop Elemental Assault for Alpha Wolf, just to add in that extra AoE damage to bring down the trash mobs faster. But as you can see, it doesn't really change much from either spec. It's just minor changes just to add in that little bit of cleave and give us a bonus. I know WoW Head Guide recommends going Splintered Elements with Alpha Wolf and double Legacy of the Frost Witch. That does work. I have tried it. Personally, I hate that build. It feels terrible on bosses, and it does kind of feel terrible on AoE packs. And Storm is all about proccing Ascendance, which is my favorite part about it, because you feel like a god when you proc and you just start pumping mad damage, as well as the explosion of nature damage does a significant amount. That doesn't mean this build isn't playable. It is, but it's ideally for massive AoE pulls, and if your tank can pull trash mobs onto the boss, then perfect, but other than that, you'll be super weak on bosses. That's why I prefer this build. But anyways, let's get into the rotation, and we will start with single target. It's not, so I know I said rotation, but it's really not a rotation. It's more of a massive priority list, being that Primordial Wave and Feral Spirits are on top of that priority list, and then Storm Strike. The next up would be Lightning Bolt if you have charges, and you don't really have to worry about tracking Maelstrom, because you would press this if Storm Strike is on cooldown, no matter how many you have, unless it's not lit up saying that you have 5 stacks. The next ability that you want to press if you don't have Lightning Bolt or Storm Strike or any of these, you would want to press Sundering, because it is a big damage. If you still don't reset or get enough stacks to use Lightning Bolt, you go with Ice Strike, and then you go with Lava Lash if all else fails. So let's get started with the burst rotation. So we're going to Primordial Wave into Feral Spirits into Doom Winds into Storm Strike. And then we want to smash Storm Strike as much as possible. So I'll do this. So we want to set up our Wind Fury Totem, get our weapons buffed. And now we're going to attack. So Primordial Wave, Feral Spirits, Doom Winds, into Storm Strike, because we got a proc, then Lightning Bolt, into more Storm Strike. And we don't get a proc, so we Sunder, and we get a proc. And now we're just Storm Striking. Okay, it's not coming off cooldown, so we go again. Feral Spirits, Primordial Wave, into a Lightning Bolt. We don't get a reset, but we get a reset on Lightning Bolt, which is great. And that's basically it. All we're doing is trying to get Storm Strike back off cooldown. And now we procced, and now we're just pumping. Even though you're in Ascendance, you are going to prioritize Feral Spirits as much as possible. And that is because during Ascendance, you are generating a massive amount of Maelstrom. So pulling that off a cooldown is your biggest priority. As you can see, I am wasting a little bit of Wind Strike, but it's worth it in the long run because of how much time it pulls off of Feral Spirits. So as you can see here, I have to go through all of my abilities to try and get a reset, and it doesn't work. But thankfully, it feels so bad when you don't get that. But yeah, as you can see, the priority is just Storm Striking. That's all you want to do. And if it doesn't come up, all you want to do is try and pull it off a cooldown. As you can see, I am getting a lot of Lightning Bolt resets thanks to our talents under the Ascendance. It's just resetting my stuff, and it feels great. So let's, oh my god, I haven't proc this much in Raid. I wish this would proc. Wow. But anyways, as you can see, priority, Storm Strike. Very, very simple, very easy to follow, and then it's literally just a priority list. It is not a rotation list. It's literally like, if this is up, press it. If not, press this, and so far down the list. So, onto the Mythic Plus version. So, doesn't really change all that much. It's still priority Storm Strike, but it does have a little bit of slight difference, I guess. So this is the tyrannical version, so we don't have Alpha Wolf, so it will change the priority just a little bit. So let's say we're going into a trash pack. We don't have Wind Fury, even though I'm trying to press it. So we are going to Primordial Wave into Feral Spirits. We're going to Flame Shock something else, just so we can get it out. And then we're going to proc our Lightning Bolt, Doom Winds, Crash Lightning, Storm Strike, Sunder, Lightning Bolt. Oh, not Lightning Bolt. You want Chain Lightning. I'm dumb. But again, you want to use Chain Lightning over Lightning Bolt in AoE situations, unless you have Primordial Wave active. And then you also want to use Crash Lightning. So as you can see here, we get an Ascendance proc, and now we're going to proc Chain Lightnings with our Wind Strikes. That is the big reason why. But again, it's kind of the same thing. You want to just pull Storm Strike off of cooldown and spam the crap out of it. Get as many Flame Shocks as possible. And if you're proc a Ascendance while in an AoE pack, you want to make sure you cast Chain Lightning. You want to spend those procs so that way you are casting Chain Lightning instead of Lightning Bolt. But yeah, hopefully, I suck at saying what I'm doing, but hopefully you can follow it with the little thingies down there that are telling you what I'm doing. But yeah, so again, it's Primordial Wave, Feral Spirits, and then you want to Lava Lash to spread, as well as Flame Shock a far target or something else, especially if you have 5 or more targets, because Flame Shock only spreads to 4 additional targets. So keep that in mind. And then you want to Doom Winds, Crash Lightning, then you want a Lightning Bolt into a Sundering. And the reason why you want to do it in that order is because when you Lightning Bolt, you're not going to be pulling Crash Lightning off a cooldown because you're not Chain Lightning. When you use Chain Lightning, it reduces the cooldown of Crashing Lightning by however many seconds your thing hits. So it can hit up to 5 targets, so that'll be 5 seconds off of that, which means you can generate much faster. So Sundering will generate a whole bunch, which will allow you to Chain Lightning and Crash Lightning. And then you want to use Storm Strike as much as you can, just to get those Ascendance procs. So we'll switch to the other build, which will give you a better idea of how it works. So this one is more focused on AoE. Obviously, we don't have much of a target dummy AoE, but it is what it is. So first off, we are going to start with a Primordial Wave into Feral Spirits. This time we are going to Crash Lightning first to get our stuff on cooldown. Then we're going to Lava Lash, spread our Flame Shocks, proc. Then we're going to Doom Winds. We're going to Sunder to get Maelstrom, and then we're going to continue on with the typical stuff. So here we want to Crash Lightning, Chain Lightning, Crash Lightning, Chain Lightning. And as you can see, things are just coming off of cooldown quite nicely. And then we get our burst again. We want to Crash Lightning, get our Alpha Wolf proccing. So you can see them kind of explode there. Both Chain Lightning and Crash Lightning proc it, so don't be wary about that. Get a nice proc here. All we want to do is Wind Strike right now because we're proccing. Get another Primordial Wave, we're sending it off. Big damage. And then we use our Maelstrom. We want to prioritize spending our Maelstrom here because Chain Lightning is a big part of your AoE damage, whereas Storm Strike is just there to proc Ascendance outside of that. So your priority list does become Chain Lightning if you hit your 10 stacks in AoE. That is a priority. The reason why is just you're going to do more damage doing that than you are going to be spamming Storm Strike fishing for an Ascendance proc. So keep that in mind. But as you can see, the breakdown is very simple. Now the single target rotation for this build does change a little bit because we have Alpha Wolf. So just to quickly show it, we are going to Primordial Wave into Feral Spirits, and then we're going to Crash Lightning to proc our buff, and then we're going to go into the typical single target rotation while keeping an eye on our Alpha Wolf. So again, we get a proc, we want to Crash Lightning every so often so that way our wolves are pulsing. It's very important to keep that because we want to make sure we're using it properly. We don't want to be missing out on damage that we have but aren't using. So yeah, Crash Lightning becomes a priority off cooldown as long as Feral Spirits is active. If Feral Spirits is not active, don't press Crash Lightning, it's not worth it. The only reason you use it is to proc Alpha Wolf. But that is going to be it for the guide. Hopefully this helps you out with enhancement, especially if you're struggling with Elementalist. This build is huge for that. It's very simple, very easy to follow, and it does damage no matter if you screw it up or not. But yeah, that is it for this guide. If you have any questions or comments, or if I missed anything, please let me know in the comment section. Or if you want to check me out live, I usually stream on Twitch every night, almost every night at Sorgal97, so feel free to check that out. It's also in my YouTube bio, I believe. So yeah, but that is it. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this helps, and I hope to see you in the next one. Laters!